Hello, and welcome to our live stream on spiritual themes. Today we're going to talk about integration. I'm Dr. Marian Diaz.
And I'm Carly Swenson.
And we're really excited to be doing this series of reflections on spiritual themes. Last week we did a live stream using the letter G on growth. And we're doing growth, integration, flourish, and transcend. And these are the pillars of our Gift Leadership Institute, which we're starting in the fall. So today we're looking at integration. Do you want to start us off today?
Integration is a really, I think, underrated one, because I know for me for a really long time, I think it really only became something I heard kind of regularly since I started at Wisdom Ways, where we were kind of talking about those sort of things of like, more whole approaches to your being and, community and that kind of stuff, and how you learn things and you take things on and you grow and you allow for change and stuff within yourself. But you have to have those sort of times for all those changes to kind of become part of you, to become, a part of your habits of how you interact with the world, or kind of your habit of being, to where it just kind of becomes your more natural state, or your more default kind of experience. And you have to put that work in to kind of allow it to then, and it's so amazing once you do kind of have that integration, because once, for example, like in the car, like I don't get stressed driving anymore because I've made that effort when driving to breathe and be compassionate to other drivers and stuff like that. And now that's just kind of my default, is like just that calm moving through, and on any level, I think once you kind of have that more positive integration, your life moves smoother in different ways. But I also think it's such an impact of those around you, because if I'm not driving dangerously, I'm driving calmer, and the people around me, don't view me as a threat. And
Thank you.
But I mean, it's weird how it really does have all of these impacts, from how you're just interacting with people at the store or whatever, to your bigger approaches of how you build your day, or your 5-year plan, or your life goals, or any of that. So it really, it exists on all those levels. And now that I understand it, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah. And there's so many different parts of ourselves that we're constantly integrating. Like, it can seem, as we're going through our day or through our life, that we're really just responding or potentially reacting, right, to different things coming at us, or coming around from, or things coming from inside of us too, right? So we have our own internal thoughts and feelings and movements and pains and illnesses, and all these things going on in the body, and in our brains and in our minds. And so really I like to, I use the word integrate because it's sort of the verb form of it, right? It's something that we're doing, because you kind of don't ever get there and just sort of have it. You have to keep surfing or swimming or whatever. I like water images. To keep navigating through, and all of a sudden other things will come up, and you're like, oh yeah, that has to be integrated too. That's going to be a part of my life the next 6 months or a year, or oh yeah, that's a new part of me that I didn't really notice. And interesting. And then also I think in terms of some of the examples of driving that you gave, it's actually even helping the two hemispheres of our brains work together better, because we have this sort of emotive part of it that's, dealing with those responses that are emotional and bodily, and then also the intellectual part. And so it's how do we get those two parts to sort of cooperate and streamline, instead of oh, this emotion's really stuck and it's just there, not going anywhere, or gosh, this thought just keeps popping. It's on repeat. I gotta, there's a scratch in the record and it's not stopping.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the more we can help, those spaces flow, the better they're gonna work together in terms of integrating.
I think it can kind of come off as a thing that feels very labor intensive, or really exhausting work to be like, oh, yeah, I have to constantly, but it's really so much more of a gentle, like just a gentle awareness moving through your day, like those little shifts in habit that like you shift this little bit and then before you know it, you're all the way over here and it's like, oh, that was, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing to keep in mind is that like self-compassion, returning to the moment, a willingness to grow, like all of those things are at play. And when you let it kind of be a form of like, oh, play, I'm learning to human. I'm just going,
yeah,
like,
play or dance. Yeah,
I'm an experiment of person. And when you can kind of take it that way and not take it so seriously, it's so much easier to, you know, allow those things like, oh, that's the thing I'm still learning. Oh, well, I guess that bothered me more than I thought it. You know, it's a lot easier to let those things wash kind of through you in a way too. And then kind of let the things stay that you know are good and that you want to kind of continue integrating into your being.
Yeah.
So,
well, and to catch yourself being successful.
Yes.
Of like, oh my gosh, that was great. I did that. I caught that and I
for sure.
adjusted. I course corrected or whatever.
Oh,
and,
those are, those are the really, I think, big ones to catch because we're so good at picking out all of the
negative,
all of the things, you know. But when we can really be like, oh, I was upset, and then I took a minute and I just took a breath, and that was my immediate response. It's like, oh, good job.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, good. Okay. So today what we're going to do together is more just like a guided visualization. One of the things that you can use with different forms of meditation, you'll experience probably different forms of imagery. And so sometimes you can just go in and have whatever comes to you, but since we're doing this together, I'll just guide us through a little bit of imagery. Feel free to adjust it if you want. And this is really just to, you know, just let go and get us to that space where maybe some of those connections inside can start to happen and flow better. So, okay, invite you to get yourselves comfortable, maybe mute your phones or something if you need anything to distractions that are going to come. Take a couple deep breaths and we'll start. So just as we're relaxing into this time together, make sure your body's physically comfortable. If you've got any achiness or soreness, maybe just feel free to wiggle or stretch a little to get it out, maybe. And continue taking some deep breaths. And as we start, we're going to do a little countdown to begin, and just going to visualize the numbers in front of you as I lead this countdown. Start with 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As you continue to breathe gently, just invite you to keep going deeper. Come back to the word relax if you need to feel your body relaxing more and more into your chair. Relax. Start to feel maybe some tingling and warmth in your body. A sense of peace. And begin to imagine yourself walking on a path, walking through trees, plants, hearing some birds around you. It's an easy, simple path to follow. Notice the sensations in your body, feeling a slight breeze, the coolness of the shade of the trees on your body. And further along the path, you notice a light in the end of the path with an opening. And you're approaching this opening and you see a sandy beach in front of you, the ocean waves gently lapping on the beach. You're hearing seagulls and walking full into the sun. Take steps toward the water and notice. Feel the warmth, the breeze. Hear the waves. Just take a deep breath and notice. What's your body want here? Maybe you take a minute and sit on the sand and just enjoy. Maybe your body wants to just dive in that water or walk gently through the shallow waves. Just take a moment and imagine what you're doing by the beach. Engage all your senses. What do you smell? What do you hear? Are you tasting the salt water? Is your skin warm or cool? What is the sky like? How does the air feel? Just take a moment and go deeper and deeper into your own sense of awareness and being. And turn that awareness and listening inside. Does anything arise for you? Any sensation or emotion? And just let it be, just see it, just notice it. And then inhale and just breathe out that emotion or sensation or feeling. Breathe it out into the air. And let it become one with the horizon. And as you continue to breathe, I'm going to slowly count you out. So at the count of 5, you'll come back to our shared space. 1, 2, 3. Maybe begin to move your body a bit. 4 and 5. Okay. Just had to do that because it snowed yesterday.
I know. It
I'm
felt like
teasing.
summer was coming, and then it's just not.
Oh, I gotta be
But it
right
was
about
nice.
it.
I felt the warm sun.
Did you? Oh, good.
I love the sensation stuff because I think it really helps both get back in your body in the moment, but then also reminds you to stay present when you're in places and doing things you enjoy. Like,
Yeah.
I've even noticed just during like car rides or things like that I used to hate as a kid because I'm ready to be there now. And I just enjoy it so much more. I'm like, oh, just look at the trees and how the trees would feel and what does the weather feel like outside.
Yeah.
And I wonder what and really just kind of letting myself kind of lose, get lost in all of the sensation of moments. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And things like that too can be really, because your brain doesn't necessarily like distinguish between
Yeah.
what's real and what you're imagining.
Yeah.
And so that can work for the negative,
Yeah.
but it can also work for the positive. If you're in
Exactly.
like a stressful situation or
Yeah.
something you're not shaking off or getting like something, so you can go into a situation like this and it just, hopefully you're all feeling your body's
Yeah.
relaxing and feeling your mind calm. And then if something does arise or comes up, it can just sort of be there,
Yeah.
right? And you can release
Oh, for
that.
sure. And even if it still brings up like anxiety
Yeah.
or bad emotions that we don't want to hang out in, we're still in such a better place to just feel it and let it be
Yep.
without automatically like catastrophizing to like, oh no, I'm going to be in these feelings forever or what, like it still puts you in just such a better baseline to kind of, continue just absorbing your day or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I had something and over the weekend where I knew I was reacting to it. And it really was honestly one of those things like the two sides of my brain, like the thinking side and the emotional side, because the thinking side was like this, and honestly it's true, right? Like this has to be dealt with. Like this situation has to, I'm not putting my head in the sand, like I'm not denying this has to be addressed. And the other side of like, okay, yeah, but I am like emotionally overreacting, right? And like going into like thinking the worst thoughts about a certain situation. And like sometimes those things, thinking the worst can happen can spur you into action, but it was, it was good. I was spurred into action and it's going to be dealt with, but I also had to just be like, okay, you can't control that. So just give that over and, do your best and put the outcomes, I would say, in God's hands or Spirit's hands and let that be and accept it. And if hard things happen, you'll process that when that comes to, and you'll just work through it.
I think that's just the thing too, is so many of us just being here now, existing now, like to get to here, we've all lived through some stuff, and then without comparison or judgment or anything, like we've all been through some challenging stuff. And it's also like, wow, you made it.
Yes.
You made it.
Yes.
You can do hard things. Like you can do very challenging and difficult things. And sometimes when you just let yourself like, okay, it can go however it goes. I'll meet it when I'm there. And even just allowing that, like, it's usually not as bad as the like worst case scenarios that you just kind of kept going, because that really is like on the spectrum of good and bad. Like it is all here. And so like the likelihood of everything ending up there where we automatically put our minds, it's unlikely to be that. So like just kind of being like, okay, I'm strong, maybe it'll be right here. And that's even more deal withable. So I don't know, I think it's a good reminder too of just like we're all we're all so much stronger and
Yeah.
braver than I think
Yeah.
we give ourselves credit for,
Yeah.
just because we exist within ourselves all the time.
Yeah, and that's a great, like you just gave a great example of what it is to integrate past experiences
Yeah.
and memories, right? And that's part of all
Yeah.
of this process too. So,
Great.
yeah,
So,
awesome.
if you have any examples of ways that you integrate or things that you have found particularly like useful integrating into your being, please share. It'd also be wonderful if you subscribe or like, and otherwise.
Yeah, and share.
Yeah, and share,
our
and
live
share that
stream,
too.
share our website, tell people about us. So,
Yes.
really excited to keep engaging with you and doing these for you.
Oh, and if you'd like to check out our Gift Leadership Institute, it's on www.wisdomways.com.
Wisdomwayscenter.org.
Yeah, so you know
/
Yes.
gift.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks.